Hey everyone, how are we doing tonight? Yeah, Nightbot's working. That's cool. Woo! So welcome to the stream. If you're new here, thanks for joining. If you didn't come around last time, I think it was like a week and a half ago that I last streamed. That time was for 2 hours, but tonight a little bit less. It's only going to be for an hour. Going to be answering some questions. Yeah. So wow, that's pretty cool. Nightbot. Who knew? Yeah. How are y'all doing tonight? How is Are people having crazy weather out there? Because we've been having like weird weather, and I know in Canada it's just been like nuts. Um, yeah, cool. All right, I'm gonna open up the post that I made and see if there's any good questions on there. Um, yeah, let's check it out. Community. Okay. Any big ones? So top comment, is it necessary for me to take some computer science course or to learn any programming language to study computer science in Harvard? Um, no. So one of the things that I think is really interesting about computer science, especially at Harvard, is that the Intro CS course is taken like primarily by people that actually don't do computer science. So CS50 is the biggest computer science course in the world. I think it's like 60, 70% people who have never programmed before. And they really do take you through it from the beginning and move into some kind of cool advanced stuff. Not like super advanced, obviously, but you get to build things that actually work and are kind of neat. And by the end, you're building a final project that is on your own terms. Um, so it's pretty cool. So no, you don't need to have any programming experience. It won't hurt, and I always recommend for everybody, regardless of what your major is. I think that everyone needs to learn some programming. Um, it's just becoming a skill that is valuable to everyone, and no matter what industry you're interested in going into, um, it's going to make a huge difference. Cool. Hey, I have a question for the live stream, as I'm not sure if I'll make it. My 2 week holiday has just started, and I'm 3 days into it. I want to be productive or learn something new, but I don't know what to do. At the same time, my mom has just been telling me that it's okay and you should relax since you're only 13, and she sure would like to be bored. Um, it's a good question. I think one of the things is like don't become a workaholic ever. I think don't just be doing work for the sake of doing work. If you're interested in learning something new, that's amazing, and if you want to grow, that's like the best thing. So ways that you can do that. Well, one is just to like do a project. Like come up with a cool idea for something that you can make, whatever you're interested in. So for me, I'm interested in programming and computer science, and I'm also interested in videos. So oftentimes when I get free time, I'm programming something because I love to do it, or I'm making a video for my YouTube channel. That's what I spend a lot of my free time while I'm at school doing. And so really it doesn't have to be like, doing like extra math tests or writing essays or whatever. I mean, if you're passionate about those things, like do them for sure. But what are you interested in, right? And if you're interested in, I don't know, doing math, then sure, do math contests. But um, for me, like making videos is a great way to learn. Just talking to people is like on the internet, you hear crazy new opinions that you never would have heard before. One thing that I saw in the comments that I think someone in the stream actually also said um, is read a book. Like, of course, if you have 2 weeks off, you should be reading like a few books, in my opinion. If you're bored, like that's a really good way to spend your time as opposed to being on YouTube or social media or whatever. Don't go too hard on yourself, obviously. Like, take some time, relax. But reading a book is just, it's amazing. Cool. Okay. Wow. Good questions. Let's move to some from the chat. Yes. Okay. Things are moving kind of fast. Okay. Let's scroll up so they stop moving. Okay. What do I think about consultants' help for entering Harvard University? I mean, so this is an interesting topic. So I've never used a college consulting service um, ever because I had a bit of a unique path getting into Harvard, which you can hear about on my YouTube channel. But um, I never really felt like I needed a consultant to help me. But I also know that my roommate had a very, very positive experience with college consulting, and he ended up getting into like a bunch of Ivy, like 7 or 8, 7 of 8. So I think consultants can work, but ultimately, like they can't polish nothing, right? Like if you're not a good fit for the school, you're not a good fit for the school. If you are a good fit for the school, then they can help you to communicate that really well with the school, because that's what they're really good at, communicating with schools. But they won't. The point is not to get you into Harvard. The point is to tell Harvard, like, look at me, I'm an amazing student. Um, and just learning the language to talk to colleges in that sense, I think a lot of people don't know. And I think that talking to someone who's been through the process, whether that's through official like college consulting, or whether that's through like talking to me on Patreon, or in a chat, I think you just hearing the rhetoric that people talk about, I think is really valuable. Cool. Um, let's see. Hey John, I don't go to a good high school, and the teachers at my high school are very bad. I feel like I could never be smart to go to an elite college or succeed in life. Can you give me some advice? I think this is really tough, because, like, when I think about my life, I've been very lucky to have really good teachers and a good family that supports me, and I know that that's not really the case for everybody. Um, and I think there is, like, if you're self-motivated, though, there is a path out of that, right? It is going to take a lot more work, though. And it kind of sucks that our system is set up that way. It really does suck, actually, because, like, in theory, everyone should be on equal ground, but sometimes, like, they're not. So how do you get around that? Well, one is to educate yourself in every way that you can outside the classroom. So reading books, amazing way to do it. Doing projects, like probably the best way to do it in my opinion. For something like computer science, engineering, like, or even like in English, like writing a book. Think about how much you would learn about English by writing a book compared to how much you'd learn from English class, right? Like it's just incomparable. So my recommendation is to do as much outside of school as you can that interests you academically. That is actually my mom. Yes. Hi, Mom. Um, um, thank you, Zach. Do your elementary marks matter? Not at all. No. Um, do I feel exhausted from exercising? How do I have the energy to do my studies when I'm all tired? Um, so I think that if you're a physically active person, the most important thing to be able to also study is to get enough rest. Like just plain and simple, people don't do it, and it's like a big life hack. Like if you sleep for 9 hours a night, like you will find yourself having more energy. It's kind of a fact of life, and as a result of having that more energy, you're able to spend your time more efficiently, and therefore actually generate more time in your day to do things that you care about. So don't think that sleeping for an extra couple of hours is going to hurt you by taking away time. It won't, as long as you accept that you need to be more efficient. And you'll have the capability to be more efficient because you won't be exhausted when you're trying to do work. Okay. Let's keep going. Hey John, I will be going to IB next year. IB is an accelerated, yes. Will this give you a boost? Will this give you a boost getting into Harvard? So I think that IB can be good, and in general, I personally am biased against it, because I have a lot of friends that struggled with IB for no purpose because they didn't take advantage of it for what it was. IB is a really good program for if you want to go to international schools, for example. If you want to be able to travel the world and have your high school diploma recognized at an equal level. And you think that that's something that you might be interested in, or you think that it will maybe, like if it's even an option to you, like if you're from America and you might want to go to school in England, it's a great option. It's the best option. And especially if you come from a different country, if you come from like Bosnia, and you want to go to school in America, like if you want to go to Harvard, having an IB diploma will make your life significantly easier in the college admissions process. But if you live in America and you want to go to school in America, or you live in Canada and you want to go to school in Canada, like it's not going to help you a ton. So just be aware of that. But at the same time, like accelerated learning is always a good thing. So just be mindful. Yeah. Dan, thank you so much for your kind words. Um, could I have gone to Intel ICEF from the science fair? It's like a little bit weird in Canada. The way that it works is they pick a team for the ICEF separately from the Canadian-wide science fair. So like if you're not in the Canadian-wide science fair, you can technically still make ICEF. And just because you win the Canadian-wide science fair doesn't mean that you make the ICEF team, although it definitely helps. Your teacher showed you the How I Study video today in class. That's amazing. That's awesome. I'm really glad that the teachers are picking up on that. Clearly, John was inspired by his parents. Yes, Mom. Hey, John, I just started a channel and I was wondering what camera do I use for my videos and what lens do I use? So I use, it's kind of on a tripod right now, so I can't show it. I use a Sony a5000, which is their like very entry-level camera. I love it because it has a flip screen on it, which is amazing for filming yourself. And I use the kit lens on it. So it's like quite low investment for videography, to be honest, because I bought it used. It's like, I think it was like $350 when I bought it. So for like, in terms of how cameras go, that's like pretty good. Definitely a good entry-level camera. And I think on my website there is a link to it. So if you go to my website, johnafish.ca, and you go to notes, my gear, there's a link to it somewhere on there. I could do a collab with Josh Beasley. He is a similar YouTuber at Yale. Yes, Yale is kind of far away, but I would be open to it if we were around each other at some point. You Waterloo over Harvard, don't I agree? I don't know, Ali. I don't know. Jad, you got admitted to Harvard from Saudi Arabia. Do I have any tips on the transition? What would I have done differently after knowing what I know now? The main thing that I would have done differently in my first semester is focus less on school and more on the opportunities presented to me. Because to be honest, like the crazy thing about Harvard is not the school. You'll get an equivalent education at a lot of schools. The crazy thing well, it's two things really. The people are insane. Like the professors that you have access to in the administration and your peers, just mind-boggling. And if you spend all of your time worrying about your classes and thinking about like micromanaging your grades, you will miss out on the best part of the experience. And going with that, resources. Like there are so many like events that just get funded for you to do cool things like travel abroad, whatever. Not even on that level, but just like day trips into Boston get funded all the time, stuff like that. So just be aware that school is probably not going to be the one thing that you should be focusing on here. That's what I would say. Oh, you're coming to visit us, Jesus. Jesus or Jesus? I think it's Jesus. Do I have free time for myself, and how difficult is it to make close relationships with professors? I do have free time with myself. I choose to spend a lot of that with making videos, but a lot of people just spend that being free time. I think that's totally regular here. And how difficult is it to make close relationships with professors? I think it's as difficult as you make it. I'm not very close with any professors, and that's a regret of mine. Like I really do want to be close with more professors. I'm actually more close with people in the administration than with faculty, but I know a lot of my friends are really close with professors. So I think it's definitely doable. Harvard facilitates it really well in that there are like faculty dinners where everyone brings a professor or a TF or whatever to the dinner. And I think that's pretty cool. And I think there's 2 or 3 of those throughout the year. And then, yeah, so there are definitely opportunities for becoming close with a professor, but you kind of just have to like seek them out on your own if you really do want to become close with them. Professors are also very open to having people working in their labs here, which is really cool if you're research inclined. You're going to Visitas this weekend. There's a few people like that. What do I suggest that you do while you're at Harvard? Um, Biggest thing, just like explore, check out all of the campus because a lot of Visitas is going to be happening in the yard, which is where you spend a lot of time as a freshman. But I definitely recommend like going across the rivers, seeing the business school, seeing the athletic facilities, checking out the river houses, checking out the law school on the complete opposite side of campus. Like one thing that I didn't realize about Harvard before I came here was just like how big it is in terms of overall Cambridge. It takes up a lot of area. So yeah, check it out. If you're looking for a good place to eat, recommend El Jefe's if you're into burritos. Beautiful place. If you're into pizza, Pinocchio's Pizza. But I think everyone knows that. um, Day in the life video, that is coming. Today's Wednesday, in 2 days. It's going to be up on Friday, 2 p.m. I was editing it today, and I think it's pretty good. So I hope that people enjoy that. Which test is more important at Harvard, ACT or SAT? I think they're pretty much equal. I took the SAT, my roommate took the ACT. They're weighted equally. Yeah, doesn't matter. Um, Hey John, I had a question about views and how your channel has been blowing up. Have you ever used AdWords to get my videos out there? No, I like experimented with it once and then I got like a really negative comment from it from somebody. Like, wow, how dare you put an ad for your video out there? And I was like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna do this. I mean, I might experiment with it in the future, but no, I haven't been using it at all recently. There's just been like fairly good organic growth, which is awesome. I'm really glad to see all the new faces around here. Uh, How do you find out what program or what you want to do in life? I really struggle with this as I'm not sure yet and I'm in grade 11. Help. Um, so I wrote an essay about this for my XPLOS class, which is a writing class. And um, the fundamental premise of my essay was that in order to find a passion, which is kind of what you're talking about, Jonathan, I'm not going to show my feet. The fundamental premise of the essay was that uh, you need to explore as many options as you can, throwing yourself fully into them. So what I mean by that is like if you think that you might be interested in film, for example, spend a week like fully invested in film, like no holds barred, like just going at it. And then if you think you're invested in math, like do that as well. Like spend some time just 100% committed to it. Like when you leave school, just like work on it. And just think like if you do that for a bunch of topics, eventually you'll find something that it doesn't feel like work. And when you find that, just chase it, okay? Just like follow it as much as you can because ultimately in life, if you find a passion, you can usually find a way to monetize it. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people realize. But if you are truly passionate about something and you're willing to put in the work and the time, then it doesn't necessarily matter so much what that passion is because you will be able to find a way to make a living out of it. I'm watching this instead of doing homework. I am doing this instead of doing homework. Um, would it look bad on your resume if you decrease your extracurriculars during high school just because you have no interest in them? No, it looks really good on your resume when you do that because as long as you put the energy that you would have been putting into those other extracurriculars into your ones that you care about. So I think always that it looks better to have like one or two or three or however many passions, like deep passions on your college application than to have like, oh, I was involved in student government where I made posters and I was involved in science club where I attended lectures. Like, but rather than that saying like, yeah, okay, I only did science fair and this, but science fair I went to nationals and whatever sport I was the captain and we went to state or whatever. Like it sounds a lot better and it is a lot better and you will be a lot happier. So, John, do your homework? No, mom, get off my back. I don't have that much homework. Susan, he's in Harvard. Let him be. Yeah, you tell him. Um, do I think AP tests are important, and how many did I take? Um, I'll let you guys in on a little secret. I didn't take any AP tests. I took AP courses, but we were not required to take AP tests as part of taking the course, and so I didn't, and it didn't hurt me at all. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Um, Truth about going to Harvard. My daughter has to decide between Stanford, Yale, and Harvard. Any hard truths? Um, any hard truths about Harvard? Um, I think it's an amazing place, to be honest. After a year here, almost a full year now, I guess. It's a really cool place. Like it's a place where you can, if you have something that you want to chase, you can find somebody that will support you, and you can find a community that will support you, and you can find the resources to help you succeed at that thing. And I think while that might be true at Yale and Stanford as well, what's interesting to me is that there really is a culture of passion here, and that everyone has something that they do care about. Like that's the whole premise of getting in, is that you have a passion and that you have things that you would do even if it didn't help you to get into college or anything like that. Um, so I think that that's amazing. I think that there is also, to give a hard truth about Harvard, there can be a bit of a culture of complacency in that, like, we do have grade inflation, and it's a real thing. Like, classes are curved to an A minus usually, which means that if you are doing average in a class, you're getting an A minus. Like, what that means is a lot of people just kind of slack off in terms of schoolwork, and then they bring that into the rest of their life. And I see that with some of my peers. But I would say in general, that's not true. And in general, there is a culture of passion. So there's that. Cool. John, do you have advice for public speaking? I'm doing a speech tomorrow and I'm frightened. Please help. So I'm not sure that I have like any advice for like immediate public speaking in terms of just like tips, like no, like imagine that they're in their underwear or anything. The one thing that I would say is that in my life, the only thing, because I used to suck at public speaking, like back in like elementary school, it was terrible when I gave presentations. Um, and the only thing that really helped me get better was just practice, like just talking more in front of bigger crowds, in front of more important people, people that I cared about more. Um, and I think, you know, if you're doing a speech tomorrow, one okay, so I do have one tip. One like philosophical thing that I've been working through recently, because of the book that I'm reading, Anti-Fragile, is this idea of making asymmetry work in your favor. Okay, so every situation has like it has good outcomes and it has bad, and they have bad outcomes, right? So what you have to do is you have to become okay with the absolute worst case scenario and kind of accept that it's going to happen. Um, and I shouldn't say accept, but become okay with it. Like think about like what is the absolute worst thing that could happen here. And this comes from Stoicism as well. So like in your case, like what's the absolute worst case that can happen in your presentation? Well, you bomb the presentation, you get a bad grade. Become okay with that. And then think about, okay, what are better things that could happen, and what is the best thing that can happen? You really do have unlimited upside in this, right? Because you could give a speech that is so good that everyone claps and applauds you, and you become a legend in your school, whatever. Probably won't happen, so don't expect it to happen. But the fact of the matter is, as long as you're okay with the worst possible situation, then you have no reason to be scared because everything else is positive. Okay. Um, Hey John, I'm a junior at Blueville. I was wondering if you talk about your experience at Shopify. I'm interested in doing a similar thing, just interested in what you took from that experience. Shopify is a crazy experience. It's amazing. The amount that I've learned from that is just crazy. So, for those of you who are unaware, I worked at Shopify and I continue to work at Shopify over my summers. It's an internet e-commerce company that is based in Canada. They have an office in Waterloo, which is where my school and where Blueville is. It's where I'm from. And yeah, I would say like it was probably the thing that made me realize that I want to get into tech more than anything. Like it really asserted like, okay, I want to be a computer science major, because like building things and on your own is one thing, but when you're with a community of people that are much smarter than you in terms of their experience, like they have just been making things their entire lives and they know how to make really cool things. And like very experienced, very passionate people that all share one common vision. Like a company like that, when you work for that, you learn a ton. Like it's a great learning experience. So I recommend like if you have the opportunity to work in a group like that, always take it 100%. Let's see. Why is my brother so hot? I know. Um, IB classes, do they matter for college? Only really if you're going international. I talked about that earlier. Um, let's see. Is it true that intelligence is genetic? No, it's not. Uh, I would argue at least. There are very controversial studies out there right now talking about intelligence, and we had issues with this because we invited a guy, by we, I mean Harvard, not me, obviously, but earlier in the year, a guy was invited that did these studies and basically said intelligence is genetic, and then took that to a very racist standpoint. What is pretty clear is that intelligence is a cultural phenomenon that means that like if your parents are intelligent, you are more likely to be intelligent. But that, in my opinion, that's like clearly a behavioral thing. Like for example, like my parents, both like very smart people, um, and they both pulled me in the science and in the humanities directions. And as a result, I was given crazy opportunities for learning in my early childhood, which is great. Um, but don't think like there are so many people here that defy the idea that intelligence is genetic. Like I just can't accept that as a possibility. So no, intelligence is not genetic. Okay. Uh, let's see. In what city or country would I like to live or work in when I graduate from Harvard? Interesting question. So I probably want to go to British Columbia. I've been thinking recently, although I change on this a lot. I want to live near an ocean, I think. When I graduate immediately from Harvard, probably live in Toronto for a while, work there, um, because Toronto's an amazing city. But I think ultimately I'd love to end up in like British Columbia, live in a forest somewhere. I don't know, it'd be fun. Uh, BC is cold. I mean, like it's cold, but it's not as cold in Ontario because it gets the moderating effect from the Pacific Ocean. So yeah. All right. Whoa, cool emoji. That. Um, what did Jack Escobar ask? He said, "Please answer," but I don't see what he asked. Um, let's see. You really enjoy the science and you want to participate in the Canada-wide science fair, but you don't know where to start. How did I start? Um, so I started with science fairs like early into elementary school because we had them at my elementary school, and then in the middle school that I went to, there was also a science fair. So I kind of just started like doing projects, and they were really bad at first, but I'd do it at the school level, and then eventually I got to the regional level, and then eventually I got to the national level. It was just a progression. It took like 6 years, I want to say, to make it to nationals for me. Like, yeah, it was a long time. So if you want to get involved, the best way is just to start now, make a project, and yeah. Have I met Obama's daughter? I haven't like officially met her, but I've seen her around, Malia. Um, what is my favorite programming language? What do I think of Python? Python is my favorite programming language. I love it. Um, I'm getting distracted by these is water wet questions. Yes, water is wet. I don't think there's a debate about it. I think it's wet. Convince me, prove me wrong. Water is wet. What do I want to do when I graduate from Harvard? I mean, it's an interesting question. I try not to think about this too much. I know the general direction that I want my life to take me in that, like, I want to be somebody that helps a lot of people to become as amazing as they can be. Like, I think that that's the most positive impact that I could have on the world. But that's a fairly recent thing for me to be aiming towards, to be believing in. And when I think about where I was 3 years ago in terms of like the same time differential of, because I guess it would have been like sophomore year of high school, like grade 10, to now, I think like I had no idea that I was going to end up where I am now in terms of being at Harvard when I was in sophomore year. Um, so I try not to think about the future in terms of specifics way too much. I know I'm going to have a lot of options in terms of like I'll have computer science that I can chase. Um, I could start my own company. I could do a lot of things. It depends how the next 3 years play out. My mom said someone had a good question. Do I believe affirmative action is good? I do. I really do. I think you have to be careful, of course, to make sure it's not discrimination. But I think when you look at the studies, like I said earlier, like it's very clear that there are certain cultural advantages in terms of intelligence, and that is not a genetic thing at all. It's not a capacity thing. It's just a cultural phenomenon. And so I think uh, affirmative action is good because it's a way to counteract that cultural phenomenon and create a more inclusive society. Okay, so I think um, it's not, as long as it doesn't cross the barrier into discrimination, and that's where they're struggling with right now at Harvard in terms of the whole Asian American lawsuit, is that uh, people think that it has crossed the line into discrimination. Now, where do you draw that line? I have no idea. It's kind of like one of those things where it just like you feel it out, in my opinion. But there's like there needs to be an objective way, but it's a very hard problem to solve. Very hard. Um, let's see. After my degree, do I think I might do more school or will I have made my mind up? Um, so I don't know. I've never really, while I've been here at least, I've never really thought about doing anything past my bachelor's. In terms of like right now, at least, I think when I look at higher education, I think the place that I would love to go is actually HBA, Harvard Business School. Is that what it's called? HBA? What's the A stand for there? I don't know. I want to go to Harvard Business School eventually, but that's more of a thing that you do like once you're actually like a business person and involved. The reason that I want to go there is because one, amazing, like the craziest people, the best people, in my opinion. And two, I love the way that it's taught. The case study method of teaching, I think, is super powerful, and I would love to spend a couple of my years doing that. In terms of like actual academia, I've never really been that inclined. I mean, there have been times in my life where I've thought like, okay, I'm going to go after a PhD, but at this point in life, no, I don't really think so. But I have a lot of friends that do. Like, it's a very big thing here to want to go for a master's and then a PhD. There's a lot of people doing research here. Just not really for me. Uh, Stay gold, pony boy. True. What advice do I have for incoming college freshmen scared of the workload? I mean, don't be scared of the workload. I would say at least, because I like to believe that like people are adaptive, in that you will be able to. First of all, most people make it through freshman year of college, right? And they don't admit you if they don't think that you can make it through. So you have a vote of confidence from people that are very well informed. That being the admissions officers. They've looked at your admissions profile and they've said this person will have no problem passing their first year and their 4 years here, or however many years you're spending in undergrad. So like people that know what the workload is going to be like have already said you're probably going to be able to get through it. So don't stress too much over it. I do know who Ian Atkinson is, yes. Uh, I was looking at Harvard concentrations and saw that most require 12 to 14 classes, not even 2 years in total. The same majors at Yale or Stanford represent at least 2.5 years. Astrophysics in 12 courses. So this is, I think, a really good point about Harvard. Um, you only have to take 12 courses to get a major, to get a concentration. In fact, they don't even call it a major. Um, because Harvard is like a true liberal arts college, they want you to spend a lot of time doing a lot of different things. Okay, so it's not like all about your major as it would be at technical colleges like MIT or I guess kind of Stanford, but Stanford is liberal arts, so is Yale. But Harvard does a very good job. Okay, I'm dropping frames. Sorry, guys. Harvard Wi-Fi. Harvard does a very good job. Yeah, I know the stream is buffering. I can't change really anything with my ISP. That's kind of on Harvard. Sorry, guys. I can do that. Maybe that'll help. Are we doing better? Are we still dropping frames? Yikes. Oh no. Yeah, I know. Hugo, my Wi-Fi is not great. What's happening? This sucks. Usually Harvard Wi-Fi is very good. No, I don't have anything open. Um, hmm. Okay, one sec. Well, I don't know. Is it dropping stream frames anymore? Is anyone buffering? Are we good? We're not good. It says red. Okay, I'm gonna restart the stream. I'll be right back. Okay. And we're back? Question mark? Okay. Yeah, it looks like Harvard Wi-Fi is kind of not doing so hot right now. Sorry, guys. That kind of sucks. Um, it says green right now, so I'm looking at OBS and it says green, but I'll try and answer questions. Still, astrophysics in 12, that's not much of an astrophysicist. I mean, I guess you're kind of right. Like you're you're doing astrophysics in 12 courses minimum. I would say the vast majority of people that do astrophysics as a major, as a concentration, end up taking more than 12 courses because they're just interested in it. Um, but I don't think that I don't think the point of a concentration necessarily is to become like a world leader in something, because I think that even like most astrophysicists, okay, I would say at least this is true in computer science, and I'm assuming that it's true in other things, but most people learn the majority of what they learn on the job. Like if you are an adult, like think about like how much time that you actually or how much you actually took from your university years that was the knowledge that you picked up in the classroom. Like I feel like for most people it's not a ton, um, but I don't know. I guess it's a personal thing. Like if you think that 12 courses won't be enough, like you're always free to take more. I'll tell you right now, like 12 courses is actually kind of a lot. Like a year and a half of solid work on astrophysics, I feel like you would become pretty good at astrophysics, especially considering that most of those courses are like quite rigorous. Uh, I'm really sorry about the buffering, guys. This sucks. This is terrible. Um, oh man. Okay. What happens during the interview? Should you be nervous? What should you have prepared? Please answer. Um, the interview is pretty chill. You're just talking to somebody. Don't be fake. Just be genuine. Just talk about whatever questions they have, just answer them like you'd be talking to anybody else. Don't be nervous. It's chill. It's just like getting coffee with anybody. They just want to hear about you. They just want to hear who you are and see if you're a good fit for the school. And like there is no stress involved, because if you're a good fit for the school, you'll probably be admitted. And if you're not a good fit for the school, then there's no reason for you to want to be admitted, right? Like you'd be spending 4 years of your life in a place that you wouldn't enjoy. You said that I didn't take the AP exam, but still, maybe if I modded you sorry, Matt, I'll mod you. Um, wow, why am I dropping so many frames? This is how stressful. Oh no. I'm probably gonna leave early if I keep dropping frames, guys. I'm sorry. This sucks. Um, check this link sometimes later to adjust my OBS. Ooh, actually, yeah. I'll have to redo a lot if I do that. But I don't know. The stream before was fine. Same settings. You're not the only one that keeps buffering. I'm dropping frames like all over the place here. It's terrible. It's like 25% of the frames are getting dropped. That sucks. But it seems stable now. Ooh. Okay, are there many students from around the world? I want to try my chances and I'm from Portugal. I'm such a motivation. Thank you. There are a lot of students that are international. I think it's like 11% of the class, which is actually like a significant amount. It's like, I think like around 200 kids per year that are international. So that's a lot. From Portugal, I don't know specifically. I don't know the country breakdown. Canada, there's always quite a few. That's where I'm from. Yeah. It's not really like a bitrate thing. Harvard has like kind of spotty Wi-Fi from time to time. It's really kind of weird. For the most part, it's like the best Wi-Fi I've ever used. It's very fast. I upload my YouTube videos in like 30 seconds. Um, and other times, like I can't even open like my email. That happens like once or twice a week, which is weird. But ooh, what is a good book to read? If you haven't read Mindset by Carol Dweck, check that one out. The book that I'm writing about right now is Flow, um, by a very complicated name. His name I think is pronounced Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Just look up Flow. He's the guy that comes up. Yeah, those are two books I recommend for everyone to read. Um, should your passion be tied to a school activity, or is it okay for it to be a community group unrelated to school, like Boy Scouts? Yeah, it's totally fine for it to be a school activity or a community activity. It doesn't matter. Um, as long as you're throwing yourself fully into it, yeah, it really doesn't matter. Do I have advice for adjusting to the responsibilities of living on your own in college? I mean, I think it's like a really good experience just to like feel it out on your own and to live it out. Um, because I know like a lot of people, it is a huge adjustment, but it's going to be personal for you. So just like be aware that it will be a big shift and that there will be times when it sucks and times that it's amazing, and just do your best to make it the experience that you want to make it. Hugo. Dropping frames like it's hot. Yeah, I know. Coffee or tea? I drink both. A fair bit of both. Um, yeah. Is it worth paying all the money at an Ivy League for undergrad? I would say no, it's not worth paying all the money. For me personally, like if I were to spend actually the $70,000 a year that it would cost to attend Harvard, it wouldn't be worth it. But Harvard gives very generous financial aid. So I'm on like a significant amount of financial aid, and most of my friends are too. You don't end up paying the $70,000 a year. So it becomes like, for me, it was just as reasonable financially to attend Harvard as it would have been to attend like the University of Waterloo. So it's a no brainer at that point. Can you get kicked out of Harvard? You can. Um, for fighting somebody, I think is like one of the ways that guarantees you getting kicked out. Yeah. How tall am I? I'm 6'2". Live streaming. How do I add a moderator? I was gonna add my brother. Okay, I'm just dropping more and more frames. Guys, we've been on air for like 45 minutes. I'm gonna roll out because this internet thing is kind of bothering me and it's probably not great for you guys. We lost like half the stream because of it, I think. So sucks. But I will be back here relatively soon. I think we're gonna make Wednesday night streams a thing. I'm gonna be making this video of everything, which hopefully won't include buffering, unlisted on my channel, but I'll be posting a link to it in the community tab. So look out for that. And now I'm going to go do my math problem set. So I have a video coming out in 2 days as well, a day in the life of a Harvard computer science student, where it's kind of like a vlog taking you through a day in my life. One of my most requested videos, and I think it should be a fun one. So definitely keep watching for that. And yeah, thank you guys all for coming out tonight. I'll see you soon.